All right, thanks so much, guys. Welcome to an abbreviated Black Friday edition of The Close. We'll be with you right through to 1 o'clock when the markets close. Yeah, the markets close, if you hadn't heard, in an hour, less than an hour now. Let's have a look at how things are shaping up heading into the final hour here. 2.25% for the S&P. This is the lowest level for the Dow right now, 2.7%. Since October, early October, that is. 1.74 there for the NASDAQ to the downside as well. If anything is showing strength, it's some of the NASDAQ names here in Toronto, 2.5%. Normal day for the TSX right through to 4 o'clock, 4% to the downside on this COVID news today for Brazil. Look at crude oil now. Wow, 12.7%. Big red numbers for both Ethereum and Bitcoin as well. Here is the S&P 500, as we said, 12% for crude oil. That means Oxy's down 10%. Apache is down 10%. Devon as well, 9.4% to the downside. If you're wondering, these are all pharmaceutical names. Moderna leading the way, 23.1% to the upside for Moderna. Anything that is vaccine related getting a nice bump. That's Pfizer down there, 6% to the upside for Pfizer. Some of the hardware equipment makers as well. PPE makers to the upside as well through that sector. Everything else, as you can see, very heavily in negative territory. These are banks. This is the consumer discretionary group over here. NCLH, CCL, and RCL. The cruise lines down 12 to 15%. What an ugly day heading into the weekend. There's Zoom. Wanted to mention Zoom real quick, 7.8%. DocuSign, TDoc getting a bounce as well. That's Moderna. And Peloton, there is signs of life after all. We will get right into things here because we only have an hour until the market closes. Let's get into a little bit of review of what was on the docket. If you joined us at 8:30 this morning, we took you through a number of opportunities in the pre-market with this COVID news. Obviously, a lot of negativity. Neil's going to discuss one of those right now.
Yes, sir, but it's going to be Moderna. And the good thing about this one is we had a plan of action for the morning, which didn't work out and didn't get the trade. But we did get a trade a little bit later on in the session. I'll walk you through the notion here. Now, I wanted to buy a dip on Moderna. It's a holiday half-day session, and that's the key. And my experience has usually taught me that a lot of times you'll get on a strong stock, you might get that fade in at 9:30 and look to actually catch a bit of a bounce on liquidity. What ends up happening here is not that. We didn't buy the dip, but I want to start it off by looking at this cluster right around $350 on Moderna in the daily chart. You go right down to that flush out, wipe out 210 bottom. Now, bottom to top, you're going to look at 210, consolidation right around 280. That's $70. 280 to 350, my math is pretty good. That's back up to 350. So nice symmetry here at that 350 price. And so when I came in the morning, I was looking for a dip buy Moderna. I was much more comfortable buying it off of like a 300 level than anything else. And right at the open, you're looking at an opening range 320 break, right? Or you're looking at consolidation at 315. When it starts dipping down, I'm actually thinking it's going to give you a fill at 300. It never happens. But the breakout, I don't like the risk to reward. I just can't bring myself to take a 320 break if I don't think I'm wrong till 300, and I think there's resistance at 350. So once that happens, I'm now sitting out the stock that I thought was going to be one of the best movers on the day, right? So you got to be patient with it. I knew 350 was going to be the level. I let it come all the way. It breaks 349, gets up to about 349, 20-ish or so, it was about like 25, and then I got a 349 short. Now, admittedly, I'm going to scalp some out here in front of that 46 as it was consolidating, and then here's the missed opportunity. This is going to be a good trade that gets me down to that VWAP retracement, but that's not the key. The key is when it retested this top, and one of the things I said, actually when I filled in for Trader Pratt on the Memes and Movers midday show, I came in for just a couple of minutes and said, on a day like today, no hard stop at 350, area stop, let it break, trap some longs at that high, and then go to the short side. When there's less liquidity in the market, what you're going to get on a day like today, a lot of times stops are going to get run far easier. It happened to me in the morning on a lot of different symbols. But in a particular case, if you really like the level, go in there expecting you're going to give it an extra 50 cents, maybe an extra $1 on a $350 stock. Now, admittedly, it was my intention to get more shares when it came back down below 350, and it was clear it was a failed break. I actually crossed back in, tried to get, it was like 340, I think 348.64 I chased it down to, and then didn't get any more. So I wasn't quite fast enough there. We didn't get the rollover all the way into VWAP. I was sitting in front of 335 and took it out. You're going to see it bounce here, but I'm not actually trying the long at this point in the day. This is when you want to bank your profits and look for the names that are moving. So that's Moderna. Missed out on the long that I wanted, but then waited patiently for the A+ setup on that short.
All right, let's continue along here, guys. We have a limited amount of time, so we got to jump right into things. I was just watching this BFRI starting to go back to day highs, tons of volume. Still, even on a Black Friday holiday half day, some of these small caps going crazy. That's the watch list. If you need it, free every single day. That's all you need to know. AXP, wanted to kick things off here, guys. American Express, we discussed some of the individual payment names. This one of them down huge on this news today. We did actually get through that bottom, 156.75. It touched it 2 times going back to August and September. So we are now, after that break right there, trading below that significant bottom, guys. Even American Express down, well, it was 10% at one point.
Yuck. Yuckity yuck. It's heavy. Like the market's heavy as a whole. You see oil's going absolutely nuts here. I believe we were at 73 to start the day at 9:30. We went as low as 67 something, and that's not including what happened in the pre-market, or not the pre-market, the overnight session on the futures contracts for oil. So there's a lot of movement. Obviously, you're having the futures go down. You see the move during Europe. That's why I was trying to get on board to kind of give you guys the guidance on how European volatility was going to be around 11:30. You saw it. Now we're into the final hour. There's some stuff that does need to happen. The markets need to come back a little bit. Why I would say profit taking would have to happen for anyone who's playing intraday shorts at some point, but that doesn't mean that we're going to rally into the close. It could easily be that we just kind of fall off. We get a small little bounce up and then we fall off. That's kind of the expectation. Anyways, I've got a few positions on. 2 of them from the morning. NCLH is still up 52 cents now in the money, and Exxon is actually starting to move away. So Exxon actually, even though oil may have gone as low as it did, Exxon is relatively stronger because it didn't follow oil all the way down. Here, it bounced off 60. Stop was at 61, so it looks like they're putting in a base around 59.50. So it looks like we're probably going to end up taking a hit on that one. And the other trade I picked up was Roblox. That's a new trade. It broke through that 122 area. We were looking at the zone, maybe a potential short if we got underneath, traded well. Looks like we got underneath. It looked like it traded well, and now we're kind of bouncing back into the 123s. So that's one position I'm concerned about. Obviously, we've kind of given up on Exxon because I highly doubt that's going to come back. NCLH, we're just trailing this now. I'm putting my stop just north of 1980 to see if we can lock in about maybe 10-15 cents or so on that trade. But apart from those 3 trades, I'm just going to leave it be. Futures are going to be exciting towards the close, I would imagine. Long weekend. Well, not long weekend, but it has been a shortened day because of a longer weekend, longer than expected weekend, I guess. Volume is high. Volume is higher than expected on a day that's a half day, and then you have junior traders most likely handling anything on the floor, so there could be some extra volatility towards the end of the day. So keep your eyes out, keep your eyes peeled out for movement, especially after these imbalances come out at not, I was going to say 350, but it's not 350, at 12:50 because the market closes at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, you know what? I'm kicking myself for a couple of things because on CCL, I can show you CCL, but you've already showed NCLH, right?
Yeah.
So when I tried the long in CCL, my exit point could have easily been a short, just like you had in NCLH. And American Express is the same thing. Because if you came in looking for some bounces, I was looking for some bounce places in the market, especially anything that was around support level, like American Express at that 157. And when you see it hold that bid at 157 essentially, and then consolidate here, you have a good risk to reward, but it's also a reversal on that breakdown. And it's one of those things where on a holiday shortened day, you can't be afraid to go in both directions. You've got to be able to play both sides of it. You can't get married to it. Moves will go at times a lot faster and further than you might anticipate because of that lower liquidity. I only have the one position on right now, as you can see. Oh, literally, like as I talk about it, yeah, as you can see, and then it flips to the P&L. But I had that NRXP short, so I came on to the midday show and sort of explained Moderna, and then also the NRXP, which was a rather lengthy halt. They finally opened it back up, thank goodness. If they didn't open that up before the end of the day, that would have been nonsensical. We tried the long on it, and then got out probably too early, didn't get the top of that move, so only captured about 50 to 60 cents on. But then when it halted down and then reopened and could not hold above VWAP in the 750 area, then I jumped into the short. I'm still holding the last of my 743 short. It's given me at best about 60, 70 cents. Well, it went about 80 cents, but I actually got 60 a couple of times. I'm now looking to see if it can hold this. If it breaks back above, call it like that 750 area, but just above VWAP, I'm out of it. It's already put in a double top, lower high at 740. Otherwise, let's see it break the low of the day, and I'll hang on for that break and get out in front of 6 even. So pretty binary for me at this point. I see people in the chat, they're like, should we be looking at mRNA buy, Moderna? I'm not in the long, which I think was the last thing that I said, because you're getting a double bottom off of VWAP. You could say, okay, well, the long makes a bit of sense. But the breakout support is a little bit, like it's still down here, 329 and 326.5. So you've got like $6 worth of risk, I think, down to where the next level support will be, other than just randomly picking VWAP. So I don't like that for a long. I'll be very picky going in the last 50 minutes of this holiday trade. Brendo?
Volume still coming into BioFrontera, which is at last check anyways, a dermatologist type company. They make skin creams and sunscreen and things of that nature. But anyways, 67%. The bigger story here, if I pull this down, it's 3 million free float on this, 3.6 million free float there. You can see these are all the big gainers today on the low float side of things. ISPC, ADGI, we mentioned, AHPI, and this one, BFRI. All, guys, still doing crazy volume.
Yeah, I'll jump to this one first because I had the short, which was working pretty well off of 7. Then I shorted to 740, like put in what looked like maybe like it was going to do a weird little kind of head and shoulders after the halt, 760. Thankfully, I actually stopped this out shy of the high of that 760 level at 740, which was break even at that point because it was trending back into the upside. I don't know where this is going to stall. You're basically looking at air up here, right? Like there's no levels to work off of. It's testing a $9 break. $8.99 is the current high. And as I just simply said, like I'm going to be picky and trade what moves. That's not a parabolic. I know this is a big move. That's not even a parabolic enough move for me to pick a top at a $9 level. If it had pressed just now to 10, I might be thinking of like a short, but it's still setting up for a potential $9 breakout. I would scalp that trade. I think every breakout I take at a high of day, in this last 45 minutes is likely to be more of a scalp trade, and I'm definitely leaning into that one for a 9 break on BFRI, which could be coming any second now.
Oh, we're coming to me. Okay. I was not expecting that. I was looking up there. I was like, what am I going to do with this Exxon position? Because it's almost...
Sorry, well, we can come back. It just broke that 9. Like, literally, like, as I was saying it broke that 9.
Yeah.
I got slipped to 909.
Yeah, I'll talk about the futures.
That's crazy.
Let me know when you want to talk about it.
I was going to say that's a lot of slippage. I just got some out there at 935, so it's breaking up here. I'll probably cover, you know what, scalp trade, man. I just said I'm going to scalp this trade. I'm going 9 to 950. I was just a little bit surprised that I paid up to 909 there when I would expect to fill at like 904, 905 on a break. I was crossed to 10, so like I was willing to pay limit up to 910 when 9 broke. I'm just surprised that it actually... I thought liquidity would be better than getting like 909. I should have got like 904, 905. Yeah, okay, so that was a successful trade. The breakouts work, but it's in and out, quick, take the profit, not going to be married to the trade.
Let's shift gears. We'll talk a little crypto, guys, and specifically Crow coin. Move over Doge, maybe? Move over Shiba Inu, maybe? Is there a new kid in town? Let's talk about CRO, Crypto.com. Their coin making all kinds of moves over the past couple of weeks. We'll give you a few pieces of information here to kind of carry forward into the next couple of weeks here when it comes to what could, potentially transpire here, guys, with Crow coin.
Yeah, so I mean, like, we can reference a couple of articles because I think the one, like, you guys know I'm a sports head, right? Everyone knows that I'm kind of into athletics, and I think one of the things that you notice first is you might remember. And I'm going to call it the Staples Center for a very long time, but Crypto.com Arena, that is what the Staples Center we are now supposed to call it, and that's a big 20-year partnership they're going to do. And this drew a lot of attention to CRO, which which is the actual crypto.com token. And at the end of the day, you are seeing a little bit of a pullback. What ends up happening here, because obviously that's a big news event, right? And I think obviously you're going to get a lot of press. Because of that. But what ends up happening is you get a sharp pullback on what was already a booming stock. So, it's a great headline. Just understand that, a lot of the press that they just got because of that naming has sort of come off a little bit. And then you have the other context, of course, today, a sharp pullback in cryptocurrencies in general, which can provide some buying opportunities, certainly. But they are doing a lot here, right? Like essentially, they're trying to expand cryptocurrency projects, and there's a lot going on for CRO here. And certainly, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for this one to grow. It's just we're coming off a major catalyst, and then the timing of that catalyst, like this pullback. Every pullback that was technical has been exacerbated by the action that you saw today in the overall market in Bitcoin and Ethereum in general. But CRO, I have it up here on just CoinMarketCap, so you can quickly look at it. But that Staples Center news, I kind of feel like what's happened is the wind has come out of those sails, because that's one of those events that puts it into the mainstream. And that's usually a point at which it starts to sell off a little bit, Arun. Anytime you get that kind of a mainstream push, it doesn't usually last more than a few days in the price.
Yeah, so you have the naming, which brings it to everyone's attention, because all of a sudden you go from Staples Center, which everyone knows, to all of a sudden crypto.com. It's like, what's crypto.com? I can imagine the site traffic that was getting as people were looking into it. It's like, because you've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. It's all brand new. And then you look into it, and then you see that apart from just getting the naming rights, there's also the Kronos ecosystem that was built as well. That's also something that helps their case. In this case, Kronos ecosystem is like a platform that helps kind of scale up everything related to their transactions. And guess who's a native coin for that ecosystem? It's CRO. So you get that, you combine that with the naming rights, and you get a nice little move. And I'm just going to pull up a chart. Now, he pulled it up on CoinMarketCap. I pulled it up on CoinGecko. They're going to be the same chart. I'm just going to zoom in here. I think it's using TradingView's platform anyways. I'm just going to zoom back, and I want to see. It's been somewhat sideways for the most part, around that 18 to 20 cent range, and then you get this news, you see the volume spike as well. And the reason I do it like this when I look at the chart as well, because I don't care what the individual bars are saying, I do want to see what the trajectory of this looks like. And you can see that there was a little hesitation around 45 and then 50, and then looks like we came as low as 66 or 67 before we took off to almost $1. And now you see that aggressive move back down, but you're hitting support points on the way down, right? If this is a coin that makes sense and you look far enough, because if they're putting a 20-year naming right on an arena, I would imagine you got to look that far out. Does this coin have a future? And you look at it like, where are the support points? Where has there been previous resistance and support? You look at that 50 marker, you look at that 66 marker where it's bouncing off of right now. And of course that $1 round area, which I'm sure everybody's looking at, because once you cross that threshold, it's a brand new game, right? You're in a different arena, figuratively, to kind of play with the big boys at this point. So you see the movement. We started at 20. It's gone as high as 1. Now it's back to support. How do you play this? I would imagine 1 is the next point, or you can look at 50 for support. But for now, it does look like it is coming off aggressive. Just kind of the acceleration has slowed down, like Neil mentioned. So at this point, you do have to kind of technically trade this coin.
And,
yeah.
And one point, sorry, not to interrupt there, but one point that we should make is, as you sort of mentioned, some of what they do offer. And at the beginning, Brennan, I know you said, is it the next Dogecoin? And I think what separates it, at least a little bit here, and anybody can go to Investopedia and check out a little bit or learn about it in other ways, but there is one point that they make in their cons, and they say higher fees unless you hold or use CRO. Now understand that actually gives, in some way, that gives the token a little bit more value, right? So, in that particular case, there is a use case implicitly within the platform for CRO itself to have a little more value. So I think that's one of those points that you can see that in both ways. I understand the higher fees is going to make it a bit of a con, but it then makes it a bit of a pro for the token itself, Brendo. Yeah,
the Ethereum-based virtual aspect, or virtual machine aspect, was pretty interesting as well. So yeah, lots of possibly profitable, anyways, catalyst for CRO. We will keep an eye on it going forward from here. Let's carry on, guys. We'll have a look at a few interesting names moving into the close. I just saw APT, that Alpha Pro Tech. They make PPE, healthcare equipment, just breaking back below through VWAP on a bit of a volume spike here. BFRI also, and AHPI. All these low floaters, guys, still moving around.
Yeah, I mean, we just went sort of like fast-paced from one thing to another, but that BFRI broke. It did come back in. I took it all out, like I said, live just a couple of seconds ago, or minutes ago. That 950 was going to be my out. Well, it says hold my beer. Like this is look at how clean this is, almost technically, right? You're gonna make this breakout. This is a previous high at $8.73, right? $8.73. It then puts a pullback in right to 827, which is basically the same high I had the long into about 827, 830, and then puts that break, holds support at that price, takes out the high, and then when it goes to 950, where does it pull back to? Right at that previous peak. Like, give me a break. So, like, this is the kind of thing that you will see happen where the market is led by like technical, like day traders or traders like ourselves that are looking for the similar types of moves. And then they're looking at that obvious place to maybe dip back in and buy shares. Anyone shorting the stock is like, got to get out in front of this price because it could turn there. And everyone looking to buy the dip is like, got to try to get in front of that price because it might bounce there. And maybe a few less predatory algos, maybe even hunting it on a day like today. So I'm looking at that 875 level, saying if it gets violated, I mean, it could be game over for the stock. We'll see. It could go down to VWAP, and then NRXP, which I'm still in, that very briefly broke this low. That's 660, so it's still trending to the downside. I've got my stop. Now that it's broken the low, I feel I should be trailing it now to 720, so it's a winning trade. But I'm not there yet. I want to give it some room. At about 1230, I'll probably tighten it up, but I'm going to make sure it's at 740, not at 750 now. I want to let this one ride just a little bit here. And certainly should have reversed that CCL, but to the short side of the trade. But that just bounced a little bit back into VWAP. I'm not sure what NCLH is doing there.
Yeah, NCLH, I've still got NCLH. Where am I at? No, I don't have NCLH. NCLH actually just trailed me out because I was looking at other things. Yeah, I just got trailed out on NCLH. Remember, I was short from when 20 broke. We went as low as 19-something, 07, 08. And then we bounced, and my trail stop was north of 70. So I was trying to play just above 50, but then I noticed that there was a little bounce there, so I tried to put it at just above 70. So I just got out of NCLH about 25 cents, I want to say. 25 cents, 24 cents actually. So here we are. We're still waiting on Roblox and Exxon to keep on going. Actually, Exxon we've given up on. I just got to get hit once you cross 61. Roblox, we're waiting. It does look like you might need to take a look, but we'll see how that one goes. Brendan?
Just saw Apple go by there quickly, guys. Trying to bounce off 157.50 here on a bit of a volume spike. Still down 2.5% on the day for Apple, but trying to find a bottom. This Counterpoint Research out with an interesting note today on Apple. Now, the largest smartphone original equipment manufacturer in China, guys, surpassing Vivo back in October. Sales, there was a sales number here. There it is, 46%. For Apple up last month alone. So trying to find a bottom potentially here for Apple.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been a rough day for the market. Ultimately, I think there were some buying opportunities this morning for sure. Like if you got any discounts, some of the big tech, which there wasn't a ton of it, but there were some chances to get in. Now, thank you guys in the chat for pointing this one out because I wasn't watching DWAC at all today. Now there was way too many things that are moving around here, but that's on volume. On volume breaking out here at 42. It got as high as 46, 70. But I warned in the chat that the spread, 20, 30, 40 cent spreads at times here. Those are pretty big spreads for DWAC. I know the volume looks pretty good, but it almost like immediately started trailing off here. So I'm not sure it's going to be able to sustain this bounce that you're seeing, especially when you look at where it failed. Like this is a bit of a trap because it's a double top 2 days in a row. Going back Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 days in a row breaking that 46 level. And that's a big time trap. Like it's a lot of people that be looking at the multi-day high break. You go in there on volume, taking out that multi-day high. But this is why, and you probably heard me say this, I don't chase breakouts on parabolic moves, right? Like that's a good double top level at 46. But that's a parabolic move up. Like it runs $3 in 2 minutes into that level. You don't want that long. Like, even though it's a good technical level, it's just going to burn you too many times over. And I think Eugene, Sergio, the last person in the chat that I just look over here, it's like, I shorted the crap at 46. And I think that makes a little bit more sense. I wasn't, and thank you guys for bringing it to my attention. I wasn't looking at it at the time, obviously. And it gave you that chance. Like, that is a clean fail break and a multi-day high on volume. When it extended itself into that range, you short the 46, it never really goes more than a buck against you, and you're already looking at 2-1 because it's at 44.5. So it's one of those things that a lot of times the best, sometimes, not a lot of times, sometimes the best trade you make is the one that you don't make. And you can be you could have been waiting for that level for days or weeks, but you do not want to get caught in traps like that. It's so much different. Like, if that 46 had been, let's say, 43, let's just imagine that, and your consolidation breaking 43, all day, every day, you take that breakout long, right? Like, you're taking that 10 times out of 10. But that 46, it looks gorgeous. You're going to like it when you go to your higher time frame if it's a consolidation, but you got to stay away from those ones when it's an obvious trap.
All right, there's a lot of questions about trading hours, aftermarket trading hours. Now, a couple things. Regular market hours are 1 o'clock. It closes at 1 o'clock. So you have equities closing at 1, you have futures closing at 1:15. So treat right now as if it was 3 hours in the future, right? So right now it's 12:26 Eastern time. It should be 3:26. We're going into the 1 o'clock close, so that should be 4 o'clock close and whatnot. If you ever have questions, and the first thing I would do is I would Google it. What do you have? That's what I did. I wasn't sure because I normally don't trade equities post-session anyways. I went to tradinghours.com, looked at it. What's the session? Partial trading schedule is 9:30 to 1 p.m. That's the core trading session. Then you have a crossing session from 1 to 3 at 1:30. Usually, if there's volume, it'll be done by 10 or so before the futures close. After that, you're going to be lucky if you can trade it. There's probably going to be next to no volume. So based on what I'm seeing here, it looks like there is going to be post-market trading. Just be careful. Volume is going to be extremely light. So some sessions, some stocks may have the volume to support you for about 10 minutes. After that, you're going to be lucky if you can get some trading done there. Brendan?
J&J, just popping up here, guys, on a little bit of a volume spike. I'll show you this. They're apparently closely monitoring the newly emerging COVID-19 virus strain, and they've also already begun testing their vaccine against this new strain of COVID-19. So heads up, J&J just starting to go.
Yes, sir. I actually wanted to add one thing to what Arun was saying. If you happen to be trading like the Toronto markets, let's just say, because it's not a half day in Toronto, it's actually a full day. All I will say is don't. At 1 o'clock when the U.S. markets close, everything it just grinds to a halt in Toronto. And a lot of times it can be like big time traps that you'll see set up there. Shoaib, you're asking about Lucid. I was about to point attention to a firm here. 1, 2, 3, I mean, kind of 4. 136 top this is broken 136 like 3 times. 136.28 is the high of the day. Like I said, volume is really starting to taper off. Here's where I thought it was a trap when it breaks this price. You have 140 on the 50 period as well. But then the last time we got into this price, this is 136 on the flush. You have this chop zone the 2 sessions before, and you have this previous low at 138.60. So that's a $2.50 chop range on a 136 break with 30 minutes to go on, in the end of the day. So unless I'm taking that breakout, which right now sits at the random price of 136.29, you'd have to be scalping that galore, because I think you're running right into a chop, especially today. Again, I feel like it's a bit of a trap. The short's a different story. I think if it were to break 136, not get through that high of the day, and then come back down through 136, I'd see a good trade there, because you get 90 short. You're then risking about 40 to 40, 45 cents or something like that on the short side of the trade. You start thinking about where it can reverse to. At that point, you're close enough to, you go 1-to-1, and all you have to do is cover around here like 135, like 30 or 40 or so, let alone all the way down to this lower high at 134.50. So that setup, you don't even need a VWAP retracement for. So I'd much rather short a firm on a false break at the high of the day than try to take that breakout long, because you're right into resistance.
Yeah, there's one way to trade and the other way to trade. People are asking me, do I ever scalp? I personally don't. I kind of find my niche to be more position trading. That also means that you give up a lot of gains. by letting trade stocks move back and forth. So here we are, and some trades I get stuck in all day, like Exxon. A nice little short early in the morning, didn't go far enough to move my stop, and here we are almost about to get out. So I'm probably going to be getting out of most of my positions very soon, and I'm just going to focus on the future because there's going to be volatility coming into the end of the day with the imbalances coming out in about 20 minutes. So I'm going to kind of shed things as things aren't working out. There goes Exxon. I'm going to wait a little bit more for Roblox, and if Roblox goes through 123, I'll get that one out as well, and just kind of focus on the futures. Couple stocks that I did see that chat was talking about. JWN, nice little move above 22. Okay, is it the time to get this though? Given how it's been moving, given the time left before an imbalance comes out, I wouldn't. I would just set this up for another day. I like doing that a lot too, because there's a window to trade them, and as soon as that window closes, and if it doesn't come back in time, you just kind of let it go and trade it for, or leave the setup just to come back to it for another day. And for us, it'll be Monday. So let's come back when full volume is back in play on Monday. Futures, what are you doing? Just got north of 10, nice little bounce back into that little zone here. I think the marker here could still be 25 or so. Nice little bounce. There's a decent amount of volume up here, so we could still turn, technically speaking, through this 46.15 into the 20s. There still could be a rotation. Just be aware, though, there's a decent amount of support down below. So with that said, there's going to be this move here, which was expected. I kind of led with this, that towards the end of the day, anyone who's short is going to be looking to get out. You might see this market pop a little bit, come back up, and that's perfectly fine because that's expected. Not everyone holds through the long weekend or through a weekend. So profit taking on a short that has been a great shorting day, yeah, that's expected. So we'll see how this plays out, whether that accelerates or not, because this doesn't go on forever. At some point, this is going to die off, because I would imagine most of this is just buying from profit taking. So we'll just wait and see if this is going to die off, and if it does die off, you might actually see this market come back a little bit.
Yeah, I'll do two names that people are talking about here. One was Lucid, got mentioned a couple times. Am I seeing Lucid? Yeah, I'm seeing it now. Like, it's already pointed out, but I'll say it here. Rightfully pointed out in the chat, you got a red to green story on Lucid. At 52, 57, it looks like. So just a couple of shekels higher, and you'll actually be positive. And I even said in the chat, like, this is like, that's really early to be short. Like, if people are shorting this and caught and trapped, it's like, well, what were you, like a false break at 50 downside, I guess, but you'd stop yourself out at 51 if you were being reasonable. It took out the high. But the levels here that you should be, leaning into would be like a false break at 53. That's like another $1 from here. So there's not enough time. If this was, if we were doing like, the regular 2-hour show, let's just say, and there was an hour and a half, like 90 minutes left, I'd be looking at Lucid and saying to myself, okay, extend another 50 cents to $1, then you got a 53 level that you can take a crack at. But I don't know whether, I guess it kind of did break 50, but you couldn't have been trapped here because that didn't take out this low. So I guess you would have to be shorting off of these highs, which got broken. So I'm not even sure why anybody would be necessarily caught in this. I think 53 is a level on Lucid. Moderna, someone was asking if I thought it was a long. I didn't get a chance to witness this wick here, so I did mention why I didn't like the VWAP long, because you probably had your support from 326.50-ish, and it looks like it got down to this level, tested below it. If it went all the way to 322, there was, that's insane, but I guess that would have wiped out any bounce long. But it looks like it held pretty well just below that 326 level, holding 325, assuming that's a dark pool wick. And the reason I can make the assumption that's just a bad wick is that, like, I look at the volume at that particular time, and there's no volume spike down here. And there's no possible way you'd make that kind of a range break, down $5 and then right back up without a volume spike. Like, it would be the biggest volume candle in that like 20-30 minute cluster. So I'm assuming we checked up at 325. Like, that's where your long would have been, like that 326 area that we talked about when we came on and said I didn't like it at VWAP. But I didn't make the trade because I'm pretty picky here. I want the NRXPs of the world to go into the close. Like, I'd rather be trading that BFRI, which it's kind of barcoding up here. Like, you could still take out 950 for a scalp trade, but even the volume over there is dwindling quite a bit there, Brendo. Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
My bad.
Oh, yeah, I got it. I see you guys in the chat. LGVN on the halt. Yeah, I see it.
Again?
Yeah, apparently it halted to the downside. Nice little move from 38 to 33.60, and it's going to open. Just so you guys are aware, our opening price right now, It's 36.37. So if it halted at 33.60 and you're looking at 36.60 on the open, it's a $3 move back up.
That's ugly.
That's going to be ugly for anyone who decided to go short. One thing I would suggest, though, if it's halting inside of a range, which this stock has been in, it's been a wide range, but it's been in a range, maybe not go for these halts because it's just going to bounce around back and forth between the tops and the bottoms because there's volume sitting here. At 33, there's volume sitting here, and then around 38, there's volume sitting there. So just avoid halts, and this is 37 is now the opening price. Theoretical opening price. So depending on when it halts and reopens, that should be roughly, unless more sell orders come in, which could push it down. But for now, it does look like it's going to be there you go. 34 is now the opening price. So it's moving around as more volume comes in. So it is coming back in a little bit here. So maybe not as bad, but definitely avoid going after these halts while they're still inside the range. Futures looks like it wants to rally up a little bit. The profit taking is accelerating a little bit, clearly. 46.16 is where we're trading now. We're still inside that range. We can still work some shorts here, pretty much up to 25 if there was a setup. But for now, it does look like the buying has picked up a little bit, not surprising on a day like today. So here we go. To the upside, a lot of these stocks are moving. I'm going to try and move my way out of this Roblox position because I really don't think it has the space, but I may just put a bid down, get caught, and see if I can get somebody to sell through the market or cross down and get me out when the analysis come out. That's my best opportunity on Roblox, but that's the only one I've got left. Everything else has been either taken profit on or taken a hit on, and the futures, I might just do something towards the end there.
Yeah, and so, I mean, if firm makes that break, and again, if you like the break, fair enough. You got like 50 cents on it for sure. Has a chance to get through that 37. 138.50-ish was about the top end of the range on the 15-minute chart that I like. So I think that's where it could run out of steam a little bit. I just didn't like the risk reward on the trade to the long side as I don't have it. NRXP, which is the only thing I'm in, right around the same time as I was watching, the halt down. Didn't see that coming on that LGVN, but we got a spike up on NRXP into VWAP, and it's not a huge move, but I have moved my trail down to the 740 area. Actually, no, I just said I did, and then I didn't actually make the move, so you'll see me do it here. Still probably cross up about the same amount. Sorry, I'm just thinking aloud. Just moving my trail down, still crossing up about 20 cents. The trail is actually right here at 40. This shows where I'll execute up to, so I'll actually pay up to about 61. I won't feel that bad. And my bid is now, because there's only about 20 minutes to go, I'm now bidding in front of the low of the day. That's the adjustment that has to be made. Moderna's starting to come back in here, guys. So if you got something in profit, I do think you want to be banking in this particular case. Like if you bought that dip here and you're hoping for 340 to 345, I don't think that makes a heck of a lot of sense. Like if you got a 25, you should be taking your $5 or $10 here. And if you're shorting something like this down here, I don't think that makes a heck of a lot of sense either. Like Arun said, not much of an imbalance can really move some of these, right? Like it's just, there's less eyeballs, there's less traders ready to offset these things. So what you don't want to have happen is you're in a position in the money and then 1250 comes and suddenly it's just like, boom, it just runs your stop or, moves twice as fast as you expect it to, and you go from in the money to out of the money. Don't ruin your Black Friday doing that. And was that some QLGN Ash took? You made me look. Come on, there we go.
We were looking at it earlier, I think.
Yeah, well, we were looking at this earlier in the week. I know QLGN, and you can look. I traded QLGN a lot this week, but not today. I mean, obviously it made a move on Wednesday. Clearly earlier in the week, it was a gorgeous $2 short. It was a gorgeous $2 long. It was a gorgeous $2.50 long. Then it was a $3 short. Like it was giving you the perfect levels. Now here's why I'm not touching it. The one trade that I would have put on today, had I noticed it, and I wish I had this morning, failed break on Wednesday down at 150. I mean, that was that bottom that I shorted it into on Tuesday, and here's your 150 bottom. So that's your trade. Like that's the trade you're making when it's barcoding and doing nothing. You're long off 150. And in this case, it's only giving you $1.75. It's not testing that $2 level. That's going to be the big one. I can think about this one on Monday or Tuesday, and I would if I was going to be here, but we're forced to take all of our days off this year for reasons. So are you going to see Arun and Sean for Monday and Tuesday? I actually thought I only had Tuesday off.
Nope.
And realized I also apparently took Monday. So it must have been a really good Sunday night football game or something I wanted to stay up for. But QLGN, like your trade is off that 150 level. I know it volume spiked here, and that's the risk to reward thing. Like people want to get something going. They know there's a great support level at 150. Will it extend? Volume tells me absolutely not. Spiked up, went halfway to the $2 level, and then volume immediately started to die down on the north side of that. Now it's consolidating halfway through. So it's literally in the middle of the range, exactly where you don't want to touch it. Is it the worst excuse if you got along off the 150 and you want to hold it? I mean, I suppose you could, but I mean, you're holding it over the weekend where there's gap down risk. Like, what do you do when your support level gets gapped through? And that's why I don't love these for swing trades, even if they have gorgeous levels. Well, you have to accept the fact that it's not necessarily like you got like 160 long or 165. It's not just 10 points risk to 150, because it's not like crypto when you can get out of it anytime you want to over the weekend. No, you have to hold it through. It could gap down to 140. And that could easily happen to you. Now, the more you're in the money, the better that case is. So like if you had a 155 and let's say it closes at 185 or closer to $2 and you bank some, and then you want to hold it, well, less probability that it's going to gap down through that 150 level. But when you're this tight to it, when you only got 25 points above, it's not necessarily the same thing. So, I mean, I would stay away from it. I definitely won't be day trading this one because the volume has died down. You want something that's actually moving. And then she'll be asking about American Airlines. Well, I looked at AAL this morning, and now that they finally make a bottom here, and again, this is one of those should have been willing to short through the bottom, right? Like sometimes you got to be willing to sell low and buy back even lower. Because once you violated, like this bottom here at 18, this is like 18.25 in AAL, this is what I was pointing out in the morning. Once you've broken that level, that 18.25, like this is it right here. Like that's about, on a daily chart, like essentially this is what we're looking at this morning. Like it was trying to break back above that same previous floor on the daily, makes the break at 9:30 and then rolls over. And then gives you a consolidation break here right at the open. Right at the open at the exact same level that you're looking at on the daily chart. And the 9:30 rollover trade is literally my favorite setup. Now, at this particular time, I was long in CCL. So the reason I don't see this is because I'd anchored myself to the notion that I wanted to go long a travel name off the low of the day. And so I was like, oh, that's my trade. I put that one in. Instead of looking at every symbol, and I know you said this, Ruben, it's like you got to scan every single one, look at the chart and find the best setup, which I didn't do. I went right to CCL because that was my favorite, found a setup I liked and made the trade. And that got me away from shorting any single name in the travel space, despite a perfect setup on American Airlines. So, I mean, we talk about what we learn and the mistakes that we make, and that's a big mistake for me because you guys know I like to short that setup, and it doesn't get better than that, and you've got the news in your favor. Like, that's just like AAA Wagyu, whatever you want to call it, that's about as good as it's going to get. And look at how good the follow through is. Now, where it happened to bottom out, that's just $17. It's just, it randomly goes to an even dollar, breaks that, and then makes a bit of a bottom. So I don't think there's anything more to that other than maybe the time of day, like you get into the end of the session there or lunchtime session, and then the sellers are just giving up because they want to have an early weekend. And then it just rejects that 17 break and comes back. There was nothing technical about that level that I could find.
Yeah, that's technically how it's played. You've got to work the levels and you kind of mark them off and then come back to them later. Okay, LGVN, anybody who wanted to know, 34.01. That's where we opened after that halt. So it did open and went as high as 35.50, I think it was, right here. And then here it is at 33.60. Another one that's moving that was looked at earlier today was ISPC. That's on quite a move as well after breaking 21. It is now at 18.39. How is it not halted? That was like I guess not. It probably could have halted given the movement, but probably just under that 10% rule. So still moving around for now. ISPC moving around decently actually to the downside. Just be aware though, we have imbalances coming out in about 7 minutes, just under 7 minutes, or at I keep saying 3:50. It's 12:50 today, 12:50 Eastern time, which is about 6.5 minutes or so when the imbalances come out. So just be aware that's something you got to worry about. Depending on what these imbalances look like for each one of these stocks, you're going to see some volatility. You're going to see some aggressive movement. A lot of these stocks are down quite a bit. So obviously the vaccine names are up quite a bit, and you're going to see that flow through the market. And if you're wondering why,
I got $1 says Pfizer has the biggest imbalance.
He's betting. He's a betting man.
Every bet is $1 for me though because trading places. You know the movie? Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. See, like Randolph and Mortimer, they're like billionaires or millionaires.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
every bet's $1. So I'm always like, I got $1 says this, $1 says that. Even in high school, I would always only bet $1 because I'm cheap like that. But it's a lot of fun to do. But I usually Pfizer's a big imbalance.
Yeah.
It's in the news. I'd be surprised if Pfizer was not the #1 on the imbalance.
Yeah, so there's some normal stocks that are in there. It's usually the Pfizer's, the Bank of America's, the BAC's. Ford is usually in there as well. Those are some big names that tend to. No, but Visa. Nah.
Visa pairs off
No.
99.9. Like, there's no stock if it shows up on the imbalance that I promise you it's pairing off before 2 minutes before the close. Then Visa, like Visa just never stays. If it could be a gajillion share imbalance, and Visa always pairs off. And I have no idea why. It's just we've all observed it from time to time. Even Prad's like yelling about it. That's why that came up. Why did someone just say push-ups? Next Level Up said push-ups. Apparently you should do push-ups.
I should do push-ups? I think they're talking about you. You should do
I ain't doing no
push-ups.
push-ups.
Ain't nobody doing
Black
push-ups.
Friday. It's a holiday.
It's our day off. Actually, I was going to say this. Neil's taking the day off on Monday and Tuesday as well. So that means I'm back. So if you don't like me, sucks to be you because I'm going to be back for the next couple of days. So I'll actually you're going to see me here more often for pretty much
It's the phone nobody likes.
It's the phone that nobody likes? Well, sucks to be you because I'm keeping this phone until the end of the year. Until I get my new Pixel though. Wait, you got the new Pixel?
Still got to keep it.
Oh, you got the...
I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, so I'm going to get my Pixel in a couple weeks or so.
Trader.
But yeah, they didn't make a new phone. I wanted a new phone, but they just wouldn't make one. So here I am stuck with this. I'll be in pretty much 2 to 3 times a week till the end of the year. So we'll see how that goes. And enjoy that. And me and my BlackBerry will be providing some commentary, I guess.
So we got a halt down here. Now, look, I was looking for like a scalp break at 950 on BFRI, so of course it goes to 949. Like, so I wasn't looking to short this stock, and I told you guys I would only short it if it went to $10. Like, it's got to put a move like that in, like break, go parabolic into 10. Instead, it gives you the classic double top, just stick your short in front of 950, and then win, baby, win. I didn't want it. It's now halted down at 821. I'll show you the the indicated open on this is $7.12. And this is why, like, you're not seeing me rush into any trades here, or you're not seeing me touch the LGVN or whatnot. Like, the afternoon halts are perilous enough, let alone when you have a day like today where it's the half day and volumes are crazy. So I think you get picky and choosy with your longs. Like, in and out, was not even trying to hold this trade too long. Didn't try the short here. Would have tried it maybe at 10 where you just have a few more people dumping and wanting to sell it. But if this opens up, because it should open up before the close, I think. A 5-minute halt should open up at 12:50. If it doesn't, then it's opening up at 1 o'clock. But another $1 down, like, that's crazy. And we've seen it happen before. And that LGVN was just as nuts. That opened higher, down halts, opens up, and then retests 35. And believe me, like, this was crazy. Like, I went from like shorting this one, looking like this is going to be, it was great. It's probably looking for a 30 break. It's going to die. And next thing I know, I'm taking the long up halt trade. Right, so that's the kind of day it is. Now, obviously, I got out of this way too early. But if you watch this stock, if it doesn't open up in 2 or 3 minutes, then you're stuck holding it till 1 o'clock. Where I would expect the aftermarket to not be cool. Usually, it doesn't have a lot of liquidity, so tread very, very lightly. If you there's no good reason, in my opinion, unless you have something which is really going, that you have to trade it. And I just want to jump back to Moderna with only 2 minutes till the imbalances come through. Moderna is certainly, we talked about this with Pfizer jokingly could be the #1, but Moderna I would expect to have some activity as well, and it's in a very tight range. And the tighter the range is, the more likely that you have a chance to move on a big imbalance. So, it's right in the middle of the range, between 330, 350, smack dab in the middle. That's a bit of a danger zone. So like I said, if I was in the money on this short, I'd be taking my profit. If I had bought that dip, I'd be taking my profit, and I wouldn't be executing a trade in the middle, not with only 90 seconds to go till those imbalances come out.
Yep, I'm just watching the futures fall off a little bit. This is going to be interesting how this market moves through the futures coming out, and the imbalances come out soon, I believe.
I just want to come to a next level up. I was asking if DD goes private, will they have to buy back the shares at the IPO price? So I feel like you're, like next level up, I feel like you're asking that question because you read the same thing I did this morning. Now, I am not familiar with the notion, like the notion that they would do that, certainly, possibly, and the logic makes a lot of sense. Like, you're going to make shareholders that have been holding from the IPO at 14, you're going to make them whole. Whether or not they'd be obligated to, like that's the only way they could go private, I'm not sure about that. So I read the same thing. It speculated there's 2 ways that this could go down if they do get delisted, and one of which would be taken private at the whole price. Now I'm speculating that that's the reason DD's only down 4%. I can't think of anything else as to how on that news the stock couldn't be breaking low of the day. And I didn't trade it today because even though I came in thinking, oh goodness, well, I'm going to trade this morning, it's going to be a great short. This is going to be the short of all time. But just nothing happened, and it was not down as much as I expected. There was no sell momentum in the pre-market. And then, of course, I read that same thing that I think you're mentioning here, where it's just all about if they were to go private at 14 as a means of delisting, well, there's going to be a lot of people that are probably lining up to buy dips and then gamble on that. And I don't know well enough about whether that's actually going to happen or the probability of it to make a bet here. I still think it's a ridiculously high risk name, so I wouldn't necessarily be leaning into it myself. It's something I'd be trying to avoid, guys. So it is what it is. Yeah, someone, I don't know what the question was, Rainmaker. Neil doesn't buy into earnings. You're right. I don't like buying things into earnings. I think I'm trying to think of the last time that I made a long-term buy on something into earnings. I think it was a small amount of Facebook right before theirs, but I was very underweight out of all the FANG names in Facebook, and I was looking to pick it up anyways, and the timing felt pretty good, and that was the only reason. Brendo?
Amazing to see how well that stood up today, DD. Just saw Lululemon and Peloton moving around. Here's why. Peloton suing Lululemon in a dispute over their apparel line. So a heads up on that. Lulu just came down a bit. Not sure if there was an imbalance there, but decent move for Peloton as well.
Yeah, futures absolutely getting destroyed here. Shellac was the right word here. Market's just absolutely falling off. Looks like these imbalances were negative. Let's take a quick look. Let me pull up the imbalance list here. Okay, well, they are negative, but they're not huge. What is this? Pfizer is the largest, but it's only 500K.
No, it's number 2. Oh,
the second largest.
You didn't say yes to the bet.
Yeah, so this is unusually.
Those are tiny.
These are tiny, relatively speaking. These are small for the kind of movement we're getting. So just watch out on Monday, guys. Monday might be quite the day here as this market decides figures out what it wants to do, because it is moving around. Let me pull up the futures here real quick so you guys can see it's still going. So let me pull it up. CM, here we go. It's at 90. It was at. No, not this one. Here, this one. It was at, where was it? It was at like 10 not too long ago. Now it's at 90.
Wow.
And lows are at 85. So that's only, is the low 85? Yeah, lows at 85. We're only 5 points away from the lows. And the way that this market's been moving, it's going to be quite a move into the close. So just be aware that imbalances they don't look as large as you would hope for this kind of movement. But given the volatility, given the type of market you're dealing with, this market wants to take a ride. You might be seeing the lows very, very soon.
Yeah, I mean, that is a way bigger move than I would have anticipated for sure. I'll come back to a couple of things. We're only 7 minutes to go, guys. So first things first, of course, I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving yesterday and enjoy your weekend. I won't be here. Arun's going to be filling in for a couple of days. Sean will be back as well. I'm going to come back to Affirm because it did make that false breakout through the top. I didn't take this for tracement like I said I would because it's only 7 minutes to go, and I wouldn't put that trade on that late in the session. But like we sort of showed there, it's just that you got to break out on a triple top like this, and you're running right into that resistance. It doesn't get through it. It gets about, looks like $1.20 or so into that range, so halfway through that chop, and then pulls right back in, and now you'd be like $1 out of the money. So it did set up well for the short. If you put that short on, you let it retake 136. Looks like you get in right about here. You get like your 90 short. And it looks like it holds up. Maybe only goes like 40, 50 cents against you. Now works down to 35. Now, it obviously would have worked. It doesn't mean that I don't regret not putting it on because I have rules about the last 5 to 10 minutes of the day that I want to make sure that I'm following in here. And then BFRI. Now, I thought, okay, you know what? It was on the other side of. Yeah, it was on the other side of 12:45 here that it halted, so it wasn't quite. It was within the last 15 minutes, so you should likely get an open at 1 o'clock. It's still indicating. It's indicating lower, but now 772, so not quite as bad as 720. It's now indicating it'll open essentially right at VWAP 68 now. It's kind of changing by the second here, but it should open at 1 o'clock. They don't. to my knowledge, they don't open anything up in the last 10 minutes. So I wouldn't suspect that they're going to open it up on a 10-minute halt at 12:55 in 30 seconds. I would expect at 1 o'clock, anyone stuck in this trade is going to be able to execute out of it, and then you're into the aftermarket trading, which I do suspect will be very, very low volume for all of you guys. And should I see my 20 shares of BRFI sell? I think my shares of BRFI at 433. You're not going to ring the register on a double up after a move like this. I mean, I would have rung the register. Yeah, I mean, I probably would have rung the register when I made that top at $8, and now you're going to come back here. So, I mean, I don't know.
Futures just attacking these lows right now.
Oh my God,
85. Like it doesn't make any sense. But to be fair, in about 10 seconds, you're going to get an update from the floor regarding imbalances. If they're going to stay the same, you're going to see Apple just came in on the sell side. So you're seeing NASDAQ names pick up on the sell side, and the futures are responding accordingly. Here we go, 92, 82s. We're going towards 80 now on the futures. Apple's the largest imbalance at 1 million shares. Now you're starting to see the pickup. So that move there, that's based on the adjustment from the floor that provides an update regarding D-quote orders. For anyone who doesn't know D-quote orders, those are from the broker themselves on the floor. So that's just an update there. Now futures coming back a little bit after these imbalances kind of, I guess, turned around. Maybe we hit an extreme or whatnot. But it does look like this market is going to come back, rally back a little bit after hitting as low as 82 even. So quite the aggressive move here on the futures here after these updates from these imbalances, and Apple and Microsoft picking up steam here on the buy side.
I mean, like sell side, like that million sell imbalance. Like on a day like today, where essentially there's nothing on the imbalance locator. When you get an Apple, like that to the downside, you're gonna see those crazy moves. So like I said, for you guys, you're stuck in that BFRI until the end. I'll take a look at Zoom here. Why not? Like I'm not gonna be making any trades going into the close. I mean, Arun's gonna crush that futures trade, obviously. But Zoom giving it almost all of it back. I tried bottom picking on Zoom. It's like, yay. Then it's like, no. Could have come back to that 220 level and it would have been a winner. I chose not to at 10:30. Now you're gonna close right back on that low, but it's a good move for Zoom. The difference between Zoom and Peloton is that Zoom put in a harsh bottom at that great, gorgeous 196 level. I'll come back to it because if we're talking about this 196, and you go back to like when it really made that breakout, and you get this 196 at the early stages of it, and then it bounced off of that level on the daily chart, and then consolidates higher. Right now, ideally, you would have wanted a 212 break. I think I even said that on Wednesday. You never got a chance to make that trade. It just gapped up, and it still likely has support down at 212, which could get tested on Monday, Brendo.
Helping with this move to the downside, timing is everything, right? World Health Organization just coming out officially naming this new variant of concern. Omicron? They're going through the Greek alphabet anyway. So they have officially, guys, at 12:55 there, called it a variant of concern.
One for two.
So we were having a discussion about what Greek letter was going to be. Apparently, I guess we're wrong about it. So
it's not new?
It's not. It's Omicron or Omicron.
Nobody's going to say this. What? Brendan, can you repeat that? What is that?
Yeah, I can show
Omicron
you.
Or Omicron?
It's Omicron.
Omicron. I think
that reminds me of Transformers. I just can't. Right As there. I'm saying, I can't. Futures absolutely on a tear to the upside here. After hitting 82, looks like buy programs kicked in and just took off. And this market is now north of 46.02. Back to the upside here. Well, let me move this out of the way. Look at that snapback. Wow.
That is absurd.
That is called a buy program kicking in aggressively as we get into the close. Final 2 minutes. You saw the move to the sell side. That was sell programs based on the imbalance. Looks like some buy programs got turned on here. And here we are rallying hard. A nice little 21-point move from the bottom within about a minute and a half. I want to say
Apple
2 minutes or so. Apple didn't pair. Apple still a sell at 1.2 million shares.
See, and this is why, like this, you see daily, you literally see me here like confused about this because Microsoft and Apple didn't pair off one iota, and you still had a buy program come back in. So I guess somebody was around to buy the dip after all. I got to make I know you said it sounds like a transformer.
Yeah.
Omicron. It's Unicron. That's the. I'm a nerd, so I know these things. Trust me. Unicron is the transformer that you would be thinking of there, and it's not to correct, just that I have to. Like it was low-hanging fruit for me. So now I want to look at Apple in that last minute here because I'm a little confused as to, how you're going to have a move like that in the futures, which is a monster move on a day like today. Even Apple just came back on a tear like $1.20 without the imbalance pairing off. Like, I don't know what that's about. Like, you're actually seeing it pull back in here. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it came back into 156, but we have less than a minute to go. It was a bit of buying going into the close, not a ton, but the NASDAQ going to be down that 2%. So it doesn't look like the green by Ms. V could do anything about it. There's no chance even that kind of a lucky charm is ever going to work out when we have, you get the half day exacerbating moves, you have the new variant that everyone's all afraid about, and then you get a market which is just brushing off of all-time highs like it always is, and already showing some skittishness there. And you put all that together, there's not much you can do about it, but Ms. V, you gave it a try in the green, even the market tried to pull it up there. Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend, of course. Got to drop that bell. We got a holiday weekend coming up. Not as much football because it was a ton yesterday. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ring it, Ms. V. And we're closed. Now, I think we all know how things ended up here, Brendan, but we're going to take a quick look at it anyways. Not the best board you'll ever see.
Yeah, ugly heading into the weekend here. 2+% for both the Dow and the S&P. I have to double check this, but I think it's the first time since 2019 the Dow ends the week negative for the third straight week. I'll double check though. 1.9% for the NASDAQ there. Look at crude oil. Wow, 7 to 9 there for Bitcoin and Ethereum.
So I'm just going to show Apple close here. 159.57. No, that's not right. Sorry, my bad. It looks so the close was closer to like 156.7, something like that. So not a bad move, I guess, coming back in. Those are just a crazy wick in that name. And then the aftermarket for that BFRI looks like, yeah, there you go. So it opened back up at 4 o'clock like we anticipated, right near VWAP, so a little bit better than that, and not doing a heck of a lot of volume. Like if this was not a holiday shortened week, you would see a heck of a lot more than that. Yeah, it's been an interesting day. Like. We didn't expect this much movement. Obviously, you come in on a half day, and usually it's like, okay, we're going to have those open trades and settle in, and then the market's not going to do a heck of a lot. And then, of course, the new variant blew everything out of the water. All the prep that I would have thought mentally goes out the water, and you start recalibrating. But it was fun to give it to you guys. Everyone did a fantastic job, of course. We had Maggie in the afternoon here. We also have Lucas on the 1s and 2s all day because Rob was off. So doing yeoman's work, our team. I hear Trader Pratt and Miss V still yucking it up over there. They did a great job in the afternoon show like they always do. And we love the look of Miss V at the desk with Brennan. I think that's a keeper. We'll see if we can't do that. As always, Brennan giving us the news. Arun stepping in, dropping the knowledge on the futures, kicking ass with the trades. And by the way, he's got a Captain America shirt, so he had me at that because I'm a bit of a nerd. Sean, I hope you're enjoying Great Wolf Lodge. I can't wait till my kids are as obsessed with it as you guys. But for Trader TV Live, have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next week.